to another episode of the Smith Boys Podcast. Is that good new jingle, brother? No? You don't want to do no?
I like clickety click.
You like to do a clickety clink? You don't want to make that the new jingle to start the show?
You can do a ringtone.
Let's do the new Smith Boys
do a
Podcast.
ringtone.
Yeah, I don't like it. What?
Got the Rocket Mortgage on in the background here, or at least we're trying to find it.
Yeah, a bunch of people I ain't never heard of. Steve Stricker up there.
This is the U.S. Senior Open.
Oh.
Anyway,
Well, brother,
so we're talking Red Wings, bro.
Yes, we want to touch on something that's a draft that's not as hot as the NFL draft, which the Smith boys hype up. And
I would say actually the NHL draft is probably the third on the rung of pro sports.
Yeah, and Major League Baseball's last.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so NHL draft has come and gone again. Red Wings had their draft. They
had 2 first-round picks,
2 second-round picks.
3 going into the day. They had three second-round picks back to back to back.
I believe they had 4 picks in the top 50 to start.
Yes.
So they're
they had 5. They had 5.
They also made a move with a trade that we'll get into. But none of these guys, when it comes to these NHL prospects, NHL draft is not hyped up as much as the college kids in football going to the NFL, like the NFL draft. So a lot of these guys, nobody's ever heard of. And full disclosure, neither of us have heard of any of these guys that the Red Wings have drafted.
I do follow NHL prospects.
The top guys,
closely.
Connor Bedard, Michkov, Fantilli,
I go a little bit deep. Like I'll go to the top 10. But like when the Red Wings called Nate Danielson, I was like, who the hell is that?
Nate Danielson was projected to be like 15. Yeah. 13, 14, 15.
Like I was shocked. Now, I had thought the Red Wings were going to take Panilka possibly at 9. Like, that was one of the mock drafts.
I was hoping they were going to get Michkov.
Well, when the Flyers took Michkov the pick
then all bets were off.
I was like, shit, they are fucked. Because it was like, that was the guy I think the Red Wings were going to take. He was probably the second best player in the entire draft.
Well, the main guys in this draft were Connor Bedard, Adam Fantilli, Leo Carlson,
Michkov.
Yeah.
Those were the guys.
And it was possible that Michkov would have fell to them. I don't think any of the other guys were going to fall to him. But Michkov almost did.
See, Michkov could have fallen to them.
He can't play here for 3 years.
Because he's got a 3-year contract with the KHL. So that would have put him into like 2025 territory before he could. But he could go over there and kind of bake. You know what I mean? He could go over there and kind of marinate a little bit and get better.
For sure.
Now, the Blackhawks took Bedard.
Go fuck yourself.
Number 1.
Blue Jackets got Fantilli.
At 3, but
was
it San Jose? San Jose?
Might have been Anaheim.
Or Anaheim took Carlson. I think it was Anaheim. I can't remember those.
Well, Red Wings got Nate Danielson. Okay.
Who I was like,
this kid is.
What in the hell?
Let's break this down. We're not going to get too deep into the weeds with all the draft picks. Maybe just hit on a few of the guys, particularly just the first 2 rounds, because it's probably the only guys that anyone's ever going to see. Nate Danielson's a guy who all projections say that his ceiling is probably a third-line center.
Oh, Jesus.
He's kind of a bigger guy. He's like 6'2".
Yeah, he's 6'2".
He's like 185. He's got some nice size. He's
got
physical.
NHL size.
He was a captain for his team. He's a little bit older than all the other draft picks that went before him. He can skate well with power. He's kind of a physical guy, and he's a great leader.
He was on a shitty team.
He's a good leader. So apparently the Red Wings had drafted him for his leadership skills and his ability as a little bit older, a little bit mature, a little more physical, which is what the Red Wings have lacked.
So let's get into the position real quick, because the position of center, to me, is a huge position of need for the Red Wings. They have Dylan Larkin and a bunch of nobodies.
No shit.
And to me, Dylan Larkin is a second-line center.
And you just drafted a potential ceiling third-line center. So
I would say his ceiling is probably a second line realistically. I mean, you would have to give him that benefit of the doubt, this Nate Danielson kid. But now the problem is you have a logjam at the second line center position, because Dylan Larkin, to me, is not a first line center.
Thank you. Fuck you. Bye.
Not on
a Stanley Cup team.
Not on a good team, no.
Not on a Stanley Cup
He's a second line center on a good team.
For sure. So you definitely drafted a position of need. But there was multiple players. Zach Benson was like a guy, like I was like, dude, even though he's little, he's 5'9", 170 pounds.
But those guys excel today in the NHL.
Dude, Alex DeBrincat, who you're talking about trading for, Jack Hughes, Tyler Johnson down there in Tampa. I mean, like, you talk about guys that can play in the NHL.
Yeah.
Patrick Kane.
Size is not a,
I mean, if guys can skate and see the game,
and they got a wicked shot.
yeah, I mean, Zach Benson to me was the guy I was actually hoping that they were going to take.
Well,
When Mitch Koff went off the board, I was like, Zach Benson, and then I was like, Nate Danielson.
The second pick, we ended up at pick 17. Now, a lot of speculation was that the Red Wings were going to be in the moves for some trades and possibly packaging like 17 and like Philip Zadina and trying to get Will Nylander from Toronto.
That was never going to do it.
That was just maybe it was maybe Zadina 17 and like the second
next year's first round
and the 2 second rounders to get Nylander.
Yeah, maybe.
And then the guy from Ottawa who you just mentioned, his name escapes me, DeBrincat. Trying to get those guys here. None of that happened.
Right.
They kept all the draft picks. They stood pat.
You blew it!
Now 17 comes around and they take Axel Sandin Pellikka.
Right. He's a defenseman out of Sweden. The
Yes.
Red Wings are in love with Swedish defensemen.
Tiny guy, not big.
5'10".
Now what gets me about this guy is all accounts say he's a defenseman, but he can't play defense for shit.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
From what I hear.
How's that work, bro?
But he's a good offensive defenseman. When he's on, he's good. He's good at moving the puck
My first
through the
question
zone
is,
and getting it into the zone. He's a good offensive zone guy on defense.
My first question is when I look at NHL prospects anymore, can they skate? How well do they skate? Like that to me is crucial anymore.
Oh, he's a good skater.
Well, okay.
He's a good offensive defenseman. He's good at scoring. He's a good passer.
You got to be able to skate well in today's NHL. Back. See, people think
I
back
need
in the
size.
30s.
On defense, I need
30
size.
years ago, 20, 30 years ago, you back to the Red Wings versus the Avalanche. It's like you don't have to really skate as good as you do now.
No.
Like you really, everybody's got to
The
be able
game's
to
a lot
skate.
speedier now.
Oh, yeah, you have
But
to skate.
I want size on defense. This dude's like 5'11", like 170 pounds.
Yeah, but they got Simon Edvinsson. They got Moritz Seider. They got...
I don't want to get into the whole wormhole of that because it's like, what is Seider
That
anymore?
Finnish
Because
kid.
Seider had a bad second year. Edmondson, we don't. Edmondson,
you don't know what
is
you
you don't
got.
even know what he is. Gustav Lindstrom, they just re-signed for like
He's
a
like
3-year
6'1",
deal, and it's like,
6'2".
but
He's
is he any
average.
good? Nobody knows. So this guy's small. He's like 18 years old. He's not going to be here for a while. He's a good offensive defenseman by all accounts, maybe on the power play or something with a shot, but apparently he can't play defense with a shit.
That's a problem.
That's a problem to me because the Red Wings, in my opinion, have probably the worst defense in the NHL.
They cannot keep the puck out of the net.
No, and they can't keep the puck out of their own zone.
Yeah. They feel like...
And they don't have a
when
goalie
the Red
or
Wings
shit
play, the ice to me is like slanted.
Yeah, it's
like
tilted
this.
back
It's
their
like
way.
the Red Wings zone is this way, and they're always skating up.
And their goalie sucks too, which brings me into another point: is their first pick in the second round. They took Trey Augustine, who's a goalie. I think he's going to Michigan State. Now this
That's
is a
the
guy.
problem right there. Going
Now
to
this
Michigan
guy,
State, he ain't no good.
he's small. He's like 6'1", 180 pounds. Where today's NHL goalies are
6'5", 6'4".
Today's NHL goalies that are good are like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, they
okay?
are.
He's 6'1", he's like 180 pounds. He's small. In the last season, I think he had like a save percentage of like 93% about there, which is pretty good. He had pretty good save percentage. He's real mobile. I heard somebody had him as like the best goalie on their board.
Really?
Yeah, somebody did. I don't know who, some flunky NHL.
Trey Augustine?
Yeah. So he's a guy to watch out for. But I mean, we got Sebastian Kosa already too in the minors, who's supposed to be
Yeah,
pretty
you got
good.
Jan Bedard.
There's a lot of goalies
too.
in the pipeline for the Red Wings, but to take one that high, I don't know if that was really a
Well,
need.
Kosa was a first-round pick last year, and Kosa is one of those guys that needs to bake in the system. Like goalies are one of are a position that need to bake in the system until like they're 23.
Yeah.
Unless there's like some supernatural.
Go through college,
kid.
yeah.
Unless
'Cause
there's
this kid, I think he's
supernatural.
18. I think he's 18, so he'll be like in Michigan State for the next 4 years. Who knows?
Unless you get a Carey Price or a Henrik Lundqvist or some shit like that, but those guys just don't grow. on
Next two picks, the Red Wings went defense. So they took
To
a
me,
lot
they
of
have
defense.
so much defense in the pipeline.
Yeah, but
so much.
Maybe that's Yzerman saying that he knows none of these guys are any damn good, brother. But I am.
Are they trade bait for forwards down the line?
I don't know, brother. It's so hard to tell because these guys are so far away from making it to the league.
When you draft somebody, it's like that's one thing between like the hockey is obviously the third most important draft, I guess, of who you know and stuff like that. But like hockey and baseball are very similar in the sense that like these guys are going to sit on the pine for 4 or 5 years.
Oh, you're getting these guys from Sweden, Finland, these Swedish leagues,
18,
Finnish
and they're
leagues,
not going to play
KHL.
until they're 22.
Yeah, and it's like saying with baseball, you're getting these guys from Central America that nobody's ever heard of.
Well, you're drafting high school players also at 18
sure.
that aren't going to play until they're 21, 22. I mean, even a college player you draft at 22 is probably going to wait till 24. I mean, it's like that's the whole thing. Is like now you draft this kid, you draft these kids, and it's like
it's a crapshoot.
It's a total crapshoot. So it's like we don't know what we're talking about, and neither do you.
I will eat your ass.
Unless you get like Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
But who knows? Connor Bedard turn out to be Alex Lafreniere.
Oh.
Or what was that one? Alexander Dag.
Yeah.
You know, from the Ottawa Senators back in like the 93
the
draft.
next couple picks, like I said, Red Wings went defense. They took Andrew Gibson and Brady Cleveland. Now, these are two defensive guys that doing a little bit of homework on, I'm not really opposed to. I mean, and honestly, the Axel kid from Sweden, the first defenseman they took, a lot of people are like kind of like parading that pick because they think he's going to be pretty damn good, even though he's undersized. But I like the Gibson and Cleveland pick because on defense, I want size. These guys are like 6'3" and 6'5",
Yeah,
so they're big
more
dudes.
Yzerman size.
Not goal scorers, although Gibson is able to kind of put the puck in the net from what I saw a little bit. He has scored some goals, he gets some assists, he does put up some points. Cleveland is not that guy, but Cleveland's like 6'5". He's more
not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
He's a bruiser.
Not that guy.
So they got some size coming down the pipeline of defense, which I think they need. I look at that Victor Hedman, and I'm like, that's the prototypical defenseman to me. It's like Victor Hedman.
Yeah, for sure.
Zdeno Chara. Guys that are like
Alex
6'5".
Pietrangelo.
Yeah, big, giant guys that can check you, take the puck off you, block some shots.
Just be nasty.
Yeah, be a nasty guy.
I think Cider is going to have a stellar, but I think the Red Wings are terrible. I'm sorry. They're
so far away.
You shit on Cider all the time, and I get annoyed.
I don't shit on him.
You shit on him.
He had a brilliant rookie season, but a very sophomore slump.
Yeah, and you shit on his sophomore season, but I look at it as I don't. Think
he wasn't good.
Yeah, but I don't think the Red Wings are any good, any better than what they were 2 years ago.
Then that's my point though. But why was he
I understand,
so?
but
They weren't good his rookie season.
I think they were trying to put him in different positions that he just maybe wasn't ready for. The team wasn't ready for him to be in those positions because the other players around him were trash.
Yeah, he ain't got any help.
He's got zero help. That's the whole thing.
Help.
He's got a shitty goaltender. He's got a shitty defensive partner, and all the forwards in front of him ain't any damn good.
Oh, that's what I love about you, Johnny. You are just as sharp as a razor.
And Larkin is okay. I go back to Larkin, trade his ass.
He's not here, is he?
Yeah, he's a captain, but I don't think Larkin's any damn
That's something
good.
we can get into at the end of this podcast is the Mitch Marner rumors.
Mitch Marner is a way better player than Dylan Larkin.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is there's rumors that some part of the trade rumors
I would argue
is possibly the Red
Nylander-
Wings trading for Mitch Marner.
I would argue Nylander and Larkin
are similar.
But Marner is a way fucking better.
Yeah,
player.
Marner's a top 5 player in the league.
Yeah,
Larkin
Marner
is
is
like
way fucking
Larkin's
better
like top 30 player in the league. Top 25 player.
Yeah,
in the
but
league.
Marner's
top 5
6,
player.
top
Yeah.
6 or 7. I love Marner.
So I don't know, brother. To break down the official opinions of the draft, to me, I'm not impressed.
What'd you grade it? What do you grade it?
I would grade it about what I've seen all the pundits grade it. I'd give it like a C.
Yeah,
C
I'm going to say C+.
top.
I love this guy.
I wasn't pleased.
No, I wasn't either. Now, I got to go one step further. This trade that happened
what I was
like
gonna get
totally
into.
under the radar.
Yeah, I was going to get into that
So
next.
they made a trade with their old
Old buddy Ken Howland.
their old buddy Kenny Holland.
What happens to be the capital of Thailand?
This.
It's Bangkok, baby! Hey.
Who ended up becoming the GM of the Edmonton
And
Oilers.
hasn't won shit with the best player, the two best players in the league.
Two of the best
Well,
The
one,
best
the
player
best,
in the league,
and
and
then
then
the second,
one
two
of the
or
best.
three.
One of the 5 best.
Yeah, Leon Draisaitl. You haven't won shit, okay?
Not even close, really.
Yeah, so far away. So you make a trade with Kenny Holland, and you get Kyler Yamamoto,
Defenseman, young defenseman,
and you get Kim Klostin,
Clean Closton,
who
Russian,
I never heard of, but
young guy,
scored,
also 24 years old, 25 years old.
What did he score? 14 points last season.
He's got
Kyler Yamamoto scored what, maybe 40, 50?
Closton has 32 points in 103 career games.
Okay, so it's a point every other game.
Not good. Not good.
Or every third game.
He was drafted by the Blues, played
All
his
right.
first couple years with St. Louis, and then went to Edmonton, and that's where he played
Every
last year.
third
Played a
game
season
he
in
gets a
Edmonton.
point.
Problem with the Red Wings had no interest in Yamamoto from what I've seen with the.
Well, they cut him.
Yeah, because
they bought him out.
They wanted Clausen. So, but in order to get Clausen, they had to take Yamamoto and his
geez.
contract.
Okay.
So that's why they made the trade. They brought in Yamamoto and his contract, and then cut Yamamoto and his contract and bought him out, just so they could keep Clausen, because that's the only guy they wanted.
Okay.
And then they signed Clausen to a 2-year deal, I think, for $8 million. So cheap.
Okay.
Pretty cheap. Now this is a guy. He's like 6'2", 6'3". He's like 215 pounds. Power forward. Can play center. Can play wing.
Okay.
Will probably be like a second line guy. Second line power forward. Russian. I know, brother and I, we grew up in the wings of the '90s, where like the Russians
Russian
were.
5?
Yeah, it was like the Russians were like the greatest hockey players in the world. So whenever I hear like a Russian guy, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy gonna be a badass.
Yeah.
And it
I
turns
mean,
out
you
more
think that.
Pavel Bure, Alexander McGillney, but those guys don't exist anymore. There's really
Ovechkin.
no. Yeah, ever since Ovechkin, there's really, I don't know. Is Kucherov Russian? I'm assuming he's Russian.
Yeah, Kucherov's
I don't know how many
Russian.
great Russians there are in the league anymore.
Remember who was the one? Ilya Samson, Igor
Samsonov.
Yeah, but who was the one? Who was the other Russian too? That he went to the New Jersey Devils. He signed that huge contract. Atlanta Thrashers.
Ilya Kovalchuk.
Ilya Kovalchuk. Yeah,
He was a 30, 40 goal scorer.
Oh, he was like a 50 goal scorer.
Yeah, he was
at one time.
he was a
And then-
freak.
and
He was
then
a goal scorer.
And then he just kind of like faded.
Yeah.
But like we grew up watching.
I love
these-
Ilya Kovalchuk.
Yeah, watching these big Russian guys that could skate like the wind. Fedorov. I mean, guys that could
The
just
Russian Five,
Oh,
Slava
man.
Kozlov.
Yeah, Kozlov. You had
Konstantinov,
Konstantinov, Larionov.
The Russians were always like the best players
Yeah.
in the league. Now it's kind of faded to where, I mean, there's Ovechkin, who's still
I would
Ovechkin
say
could
that-
be
I would
one of the
say
best
that-
players ever. But
Yeah, but I would say the Canadians, especially with like McDavid
oh, for
right
sure,
now, are
for
the
sure,
best.
for sure.
And the Finns have really turned it around.
The
Like,
Swedes are always good.
Sweden used to be above Finland, but I think Finland has like really
Could be.
upgraded their hockey program, and I think Sweden is probably a knock certain run
Anyway.
or two down.
Anyway.
we gotta go get this up.
So they got Klim Kostin, signed him to a 2-year deal, and I'm optimistic on it, which I haven't been too optimistic on anything the Red Wings have done the last few years. And honestly, I've been on the record telling brother this off the air, off the podcast. I said this is pretty much it for me with Yzerman this year. is
yeah,
it.
he did say this
Like
year.
I'm
is
kind of
like-
done with it. He's been here 3 years now?
Oh God, this is like 4
3 or
five.
4?
Yeah.
This team has not gotten any better.
No.
We're on the second coach now.
It's-
He was saddled with Jeff Blashill, and
To
he
me,
got rid
they're
of
in
Blashill.
purgatory.
They are in purgatory. And now, to me, you got to make the playoffs this year at least as an 8 seed.
The problem is they're in purgatory, and the reason I say they're in that position is
They also
because-
signed James Raymer as a backup goalie again, who was a guy that they had before who was freaking terrible.
Yeah. The problem is the Red Wings are on the cusp of either we're going to be an 8 seed and get knocked out by the 1, or we're just on the cusp of getting the first overall pick and getting a generational talent.
But picking 8th.
Or picking 8th or 9th and getting Nate Danielson. We're this close to getting Connor Bedard or Jack Hughes or Alex Ledfriere, or we're this close to even competing for a playoff spot. So it's like you're in that middle, and it's like, dude, this is a horrible place to be.
It is, but I just want them to make it at least as the 8 seed, because Florida showed this year, you get as the 8 seed, you never
But
know.
dude, you don't have a Kachuk. You
No,
don't
you
have
don't.
a Sasha Barkov.
You don't, and
you don't have a Bobrovsky. You don't have a
True,
who's the
100%.
defenseman? Ekblad. Dude, you don't have these guys.
No, they got a few great players on their team, which the Red Wings do not have. But I'm just saying, if you get in, first of all, you got my interest, because it's playoff hockey. And
Granted.
puck luck is a thing in
Granted.
the playoffs.
Granted.
So you never know. I mean, damn, brother, Florida was down 3-1 to Boston and beat them, and Boston
I
had the
know.
greatest season ever.
I know.
So you just never know.
I agree.
I just want him to get in so that I'm interested.
Yeah.
This team, to me, for years has not been interesting.
Oh, I know.
And I start every season and I give it like 3 weeks, and I'm like, okay, let's see where they're at. I watch
Hoochie
games
Mama,
for like
Hoochie Mama.
Hoochie Mama. I watch every game for like 3 weeks, and then it just gets to a point where this team sucks. They're
It's
not
terrible.
any better.
It's
It's the
horrible.
same team that
Yep.
they've been for the last 7 years, and I'm done. I'm out.
Yep.
I'll check back in 2 months. Oh, they're still terrible. They're still 4, 5, 6 games out of being the 8 seed.
Yeah.
So I just don't care, and I stop watching.
Yep.
So I want this team to at least be competitive. The Tigers have gotten my interest a little bit recently just because the Tigers are only a few games out, but they're terrible, and their division's terrible. But the fact that they're at least a few games out gets my interest to a point where, like, okay, I'm going to start watching a little bit. So what grade did you end up giving them?
I give them a C+. I just was not happy with it. Although Yzerman is a huge proponent to me of going off the board. You know, Sider was a guy that he took it.
Nobody saw that.
Nobody saw that coming. Then the very next year, he ended up taking Raymond. And
Kosa.
Raymond was a good player. And he took Kosa. Then he took Simon Edvinsson, who kind of everybody thought. But he likes those big, rangy defensemen, like an Edvinsson, like a Sider. You know, I think Raymond is one of those guys that he was maybe hoping would be turn into a Kucherov. I mean,
Martin St. Louis, tiny little guy.
Yeah, something like that.
In his rookie year, he was good. He had a great rookie year.
But I just look at this Red Wings roster, and I'm hoping that Lalonde can really turn this thing around. Because
I was hopeful too. When they signed him, when they signed the loan, I was like, dude, this is a good sign.
Coaches can kind of catch fire with a roster and like get guys to play in a certain way and believing in a certain way and playing a certain style of hockey, just like in football.
I think hockey is more of a system. If you get everybody to buy in and play the fundamentals in the system, you can win games you're not supposed to win.
Yeah.
And you look at Vegas's roster. Vegas's roster is not a world beater roster of talent.
No. You have Marcia Schull, you have Mark Stone, Alex Pietrangelo, and you have Jack Eichel. Everybody else to me is like a no-name.
Pretty much.
You know,
pretty much.
But
they won the Stanley Cup with a goalie that was a backup goalie.
Yeah. So it can be done. But the problem is the Red Wings, I think they really need talent, and they have absolutely zero.
So maybe a year under Lalonde as coach, maybe they get a little bit better. I mean, that remains to be seen, but I'm hopeful about it.
I am not.
Where are you? I gave my thoughts on where I am with Yzerman and his tenure here. I'm like, this is it. This year, I better see some improvement this year. I'm expecting make the playoffs this year, or I'm done, dude. Like, I'm done with Yzerman.
Boom! Boom!
I'll give him this year and next.
So you got another 2 years for Yzerman.
I'll give him this year and next. Yeah.
So if they go this year and they make it, it's like they end up being good enough to where they don't make the playoffs. Say they're sitting at like 9 or 10 in the playoffs, and only 8 get in, and you're at like the 9th or the 10th. So you're only 1 or 2 spots out. So you're not getting the number 1 pick. You're picking at like 10 or 11, and you're stuck in purgatory again this year.
You're fucked. You're screwed.
That doesn't change your mind at all?
I mean, it depends on what happens that next year. Give me the whole next year. But at that point, if they draft,
what would you want to see that whole next year? I mean,
make the playoffs.
That whole next year, then you're talking about like you better trade and get Mitch Marner.
I mean, I know where you're going with it, but it's like I'm going to give him a couple more years because I'm hopeful that Marco Kasper can turn into
building
something.
through the draft has not worked the last 4 years.
Well, I mean, you're hopeful that Marco Kasper can turn into something. Elmer Soderblom can turn into something. Simon Edvinsson can turn into something. Sebastian Kosa. It's like, to me, it's all hope and a prayer.
Kosa is still probably 2-3 years away,
dude, at least because he had a shitty AHL start with Grand Rapids. They had to kick him down to Toledo Walleyes in the ECHL. Now, he took them to the conference finals, I think, and lost. But so now he goes to the AHL. You still got guys like Taro Hirose down there. I mean, you still got guys that have been Brian Lashoff and shit. Like what are you doing?
Oh my God, they still got Brian Lashoff.
Yeah, dude, you still got guys like this guy, brother.
Is Dan Cleary playing down there?
I don't know, but I just look at the Red Wings roster, and I'm
it's
sorry.
Abysmal.
It's terrible.
It is. They are the most.
Terrible.
They are probably one of the most uninteresting.
I am more
teams.
excited about the Pistons than I am the Red Wings now.
Dear God!
Yeah, the Red Wings are the most uninteresting team in Detroit. The Tigers are more interesting.
Yeah, baseball will always be bigger than hockey in this town, and because baseball is just a higher level.
Well, the Tigers got that equity built in of just the history. Well, the Red Wings got history too, but
but I think baseball's
America's sport. Hockey's more of a niche, but
I honestly think the Pistons are closer than the Red
Pistons
Wings
are more interesting. Pistons are more because they're young and they have players that like Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
They got a new coach now, Monty Williams, one of the best coaches in the league, and Monty Williams. Oster Thompson, the kid that they drafted. So the Pistons are at least interesting.
Yeah.
Especially if they stay healthy, they're interesting.
Yeah.
The Red Wings have no interest. They're not interesting.
No.
In fact, they're actually the complete opposite. When I watch the Red Wings, they are fucking
boring.
Yeah.
Speak the King's English. They don't belong.
Yes.
They are not
Thank
fun to
you.
watch. They
No.
are boring.
Yes.
They don't score goals, and they
Nope.
get scored on worse than a whore in a whorehouse.
Yeah. I mean, they have nobody that can put the puck in. I mean, they have. Oh, everybody's. Oh, Lucas Raymond. Okay, the guy can score 20 goals.
I would
That
have
does
been all
nothing
for.
me. I need a 40-goal scorer, guys. Somebody's got to put the puck in the net 40 times.
You need at least one
Sorry.
superstar.
Yeah.
And I was all for these rumors were going around about like whatever it would take to trade and get Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner. As far as
You bought into that.
As far as I'm concerned, you could trade Larkin, Raymond, and Sider for Mitch Marner. And if I could trade all three of those guys and bring Marner here, I'd be for it because at least they'd be interesting. Because at least I could watch Marner score 40 goals.
Yeah, Marner would be interesting.
But-
He'd be entertaining.
So maybe when we get, we'll wait till the season comes back around, and then we'll start getting closer to the season and do a podcast on that, see if they make any more moves. Because I think free agency started today, July 1st. Free agency just started. They did sign, I forgot who that is. They signed a defenseman.
It was a no-name.
They signed a defenseman. Its name's escaping me. It was not a big signing,
No,
but it was a
not.
cheap contract. So I mean, it's better than when Con Holland was here and paying guys $15 million to come here and play like Justin Applicator. So until then, Smith boys out.
Toodaloo, motherfucker.
Hey, you